So what can you do when there's that guy at the gym or that guy at work or that acquaintance that you know that you're flirting, you feel the chemistry, like you're attracted to him, you think he might be attracted to you, but he's not making a move? Besides just waiting and hanging back and just burning time, waiting for him to be proactive, what can you do to really find out if there's potential there, to find out if he likes you? This question came up recently with one of my clients, and she said, what can I do, Matt? I don't want to be passive. And so I gave her 4 tips that I want to share with you, these 4 powerful steps that you can take in sequential order. So let's dive into them right now. Step number 1 is find out. So you want to find out if he's got a girlfriend. You'll know if he's married, he'll be wearing a wedding ring. If he's any good. The guys who's not wearing their wedding ring. Actually, sometimes you don't even know. Another friend of mine was attracted to this guy. She was like flirting with him, doing all this stuff. And then she had a serious conversation with him about his life. And he started talking about his wife and all these things that were going on. And she was like, why aren't you wearing a wedding ring? And he's like, oh, my wedding ring doesn't fit anymore. So you never know. He might be married. He might have a girlfriend. So this is why you want to find out. So the question becomes, how do you find out in a really natural way that's not awkward if he's dating somebody, has a girlfriend, or is married? Well, here's what you can do. When you're talking to him, ask him about this last weekend. You'd be like, hey, what'd you do this last weekend? Did you go out with your girlfriend or hang out? And you drop that in and he'll be like, oh, no, I don't have a girlfriend or this and that. And you're like, oh my gosh. And this is a perfect segue into step number 2, which I'll tell you about in just a moment. But when you just assume that he does, assume he's partnered up and ask him about it, it's an undeniable way for he'll either confirm, oh yeah, my girlfriend and I, we went to the movies, or no, I don't have a girlfriend. I was just hanging out with my friends. Step number 2 is obviously flirt with him. And this is where you've got to have some guts, right? This is where one of you is going to have to kind of lean into the domain of, hey, I'm feeling some attraction here, and make it obvious. Otherwise, you'll end up in the friend zone all the time. One of you has got to give the other a big green light. And if he's not doing it, then the opportunity is all yours. Because you got to remember, men are afraid of rejection too. Men are petrified of like reaching out, and especially if the two of you are acquaintances, right? Maybe you guys go rock climbing together and he doesn't want to be the one to make it weird now every time you're going to see him because he hit on you at the rock climbing gym. So if you are interested, give him a big green light to let him approach you or ask you out, because that way you're going to reduce any fears that he has that, oh, this is going to be awkward. And so you do that by flirting with him. So if you ask him if he has a girlfriend and he says no, then it's an easy flirt to say, oh my gosh, like you're so attractive. I just assumed that you had a girlfriend. And so you're letting him know in that moment that you find him attractive. Other more subtle ways, but still green enough, big green light ways to let him know that you find him attractive is compliment him on something he's wearing. Like, oh my gosh, that jacket looks really good on you. Or, oh my gosh, those pants are really hot. Or whatever it is that he's wearing, you can compliment his clothes. Let him know that you find them attractive or it looks really good. And that's the beginnings of you flirting with him and being a little bit more than friends, kind of opening that door. So step number 1 is to find out if he's already taken. Step number 2 is to flirt with him. And step number 3, after you flirting, sometimes that's all it will take. And will float an invite to you. And he'll say, hey, we should go do something, or we should go hang out. Step number 3 here, if he hasn't asked you out yet, is to float an invite for him for a group activity. So you might be thinking, well, what kind of group activity? Well, you got to plan one. You're going to have to plan something with a group of friends and say, maybe you guys all go for a hike. Maybe you all go for bowling. Maybe you guys are all going to go out for drinks or go to the specific museum. Whatever you're going to do, it doesn't really matter. Just make it something fun for you. So whether he shows up or not, you're still enjoying that time with your friends in that activity. But you set up something and say, hey, my friends and I, we're all getting ready. We're all going to do this cool Cosmo bowling night that's happening. You should come. And so you invite him into this group activity that you're doing. It's not overtly a date. Every one of these moves, you can totally spin it and be grounded in the feminine if you want to be the one coming from the feminine. But being proactive, being feminine doesn't mean you're not proactive. Okay? So you float the invite to the group date. And then when he shows up to the date, this brings you to step number 4, which is to focus on him. And what that means is when he gets there, at some point in that activity, you pull him to the side and say, hey, can I talk to you alone for just a minute? And you pull him to the side and you say, hey, I really appreciate you coming here. I kind of wanted to get some space for the group because I just want to get to know you better. Like, I'm really intrigued by you. You're really interesting to me. Tell me about you. And you guys start talking. That puts the big spotlight, letting him know that, wow, you're paying extra attention to him. One of the big reasons guys don't ask someone out for a date is because they're uncertain. Does she like me? Does she not like me? Like, she's smiling and she's looking at me, but I don't know. And I'm in her world on this date. Like, if this doesn't go well, I don't want to be the jackass that gets rejected. You'd be surprised how obvious, if you want him to ask you out, how obvious you have to make it for him to feel fully comfortable asking you out. So I know it takes guts. It means you've got to be the one to be proactive. And in some cases, you've got to put yourself really out there. And if it turns out that he's just friends, then guess what? You are not going to your deathbed with regrets. There's nothing worse than letting an opportunity pass you by and thinking like, God, if I had just said what I meant to say, if I just opened my heart more, if I just let him know things could have been different. Pain weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. And so take these 4 steps, because these 4 steps pave the way for a beautiful connection if it's meant to be. And if not, it accelerates you forward so you don't burn time on a guy who is never going to say yes anyway. When one of my coaching clients came through, she learned these 4 tips. She had been in her mind having this romantic connection with this guy for 8 months, not dating anyone else because she wanted to hold the possibility with this guy. She did these 4 steps. She found out, oh, this guy was actually engaged to be married like in a couple months. She had never talked to him on that level and knew that. And she was like, okay, so he just represents the kind of guy that I want. She was able to fully release him. That action propelled her into this momentum in her love life. The very next month, boom, found her guy. Who would have known how long it would have taken? I mean, maybe she would have seen the wedding pictures in a couple of months, but she burned all that time. So here are 4 surefire ways to help you create momentum and really discover if this guy likes you. So my question for you is, what have you found really works to find out if a guy likes you? Go ahead and post those ideas or those strategies below. It's going to be super helpful for everyone watching this video. And know this, I appreciate you. Here's to your incredible love life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.